Welcome to today's spine-chilling tale, a mystery that continues to baffle everyone who has come across it. Picture this. You're standing in a quiet hallway late at night, and everything feels just a little off. There's no one around, and yet you feel the unmistakable presence of something watching you. But what if you were being watched by something that wasn't even supposed to be there? What if the place you were standing in had a secret that no one had ever been able to explain? This story takes place in a school, but not just any school. This particular school was built on an old cemetery. And as you can probably guess, with such a past, strange things tend to happen. Things that no one can fully explain. Things that have kept people wondering for years. This school is different. People say it's haunted, and it's not hard to understand why. The local janitors, who work the night shift, all seem to have their own ghost stories. Stories of shadows moving when no one's there, whispers in the dark, and strange figures that seem to disappear as quickly as they appear. And one night, one of those janitors decided to record what he was experiencing. And that decision changed everything. I'm not really sure about all this paranormal stuff, but the guys before me told me something strange always happens after dark. And tonight, it's my turn. The camera shakes as the janitor walks past classrooms, then pauses, looking nervously. Narrator building tension. As he continues walking down the hallway, the atmosphere thickens. Suddenly, a red balloon floats into view. The janitor notices it moving, and at first he tries to brush it off, thinking it's just a draft or a trick of the light. But the balloon starts to follow him. The video shows the balloon drifting slowly behind the janitor as he walks, stopping as he pauses to look at it. Narrator with a hint of unease. Now, this would seem harmless enough, right? A balloon drifting in the hallway. But here's the thing. All the other balloons remain still. It's just this one balloon, moving on its own, as if something or someone is controlling it. The janitor begins to back away, still filming, his steps quickening. Janitor in the video, voice shaky. I don't know about this. Something's wrong here. I've got to get out of here. Suddenly, a shadowy figure flashes across the hallway behind him, moving so quickly it's almost imperceptible. The janitor turns around in a panic. Narrator, voice trembling. And then, something unexplainable happens. A shadow, moving faster than the eye can see, crosses behind him. In that split second, the janitor catches a glimpse of something dark and formless. But by the time he turns, it's gone. Gone without a trace. The video cuts to black as the janitor bolts, leaving the footage behind. Narrator in a hushed tone, serious. What was that? Was it just a trick of the light? Or did he capture something otherworldly on camera? The scene fades to black, and the music begins to build, intensifying. Part 2. The Unseen Presence. Narrator, voice dramatic, leading into the next part of the mystery. Now, let's rewind for a moment and think about the bigger picture. This isn't just one strange occurrence. This is part of something far more mysterious. In fact, the janitor's video was just the beginning. There are others, too. People who've lived in this school, worked here, and experienced things they still can't explain. The screen shows more footage, this time of a young girl playing with a doll in a room. Narrator, voice calming, intrigued. This next video comes from a nanny who was looking after a little girl. One day, the girl tells her something that sends a chill down the nanny's spine. She says that her doll moves on its own. At first, the nanny laughs it off as an imagination of a 5-year-old. But the girl insists that it happens, especially when they play hide and seek together. The nanny records the doll while the girl plays with it, but nothing seems out of place at first. Narrator, voice suspenseful. Now, could this be just a child's imagination? Or is something truly wrong with that doll? Let's watch and find out. The camera watches the doll sitting still in the corner of the room. The nanny continues recording, and then, suddenly, something strange happens. Nanny in the video, voice nervously laughing. All right, let's see if the doll moves now. The doll remains still for a moment, but then, in the blink of an eye, its head tilts slightly, as if it's looking directly at the camera. The nanny gasps, unsure of what to make of it. Narrator voice eerily calm. Did the doll just move? Or is this another trick of the light? The nanny shakes it off, telling herself that it's probably nothing. But as the night goes on, things take a turn for the worse. The scene cuts to the nanny, now sitting on the couch, looking uneasy. The room is quiet, until the dog begins to act strangely. Narrator with a sense of dread. Later that night, something even more unsettling happens. The family dog, which had been quietly lying on the floor, suddenly starts staring at the doll in the corner. It doesn't move, doesn't bark. It just stares, unblinking, for hours. The camera lingers on the dog staring intensely at the doll, an unnatural stillness filling the room. Narrator voice quiet, almost whispering. Hours go by, and the tension in the room becomes palpable. But it's what happens next that will make your skin crawl. Cut to the nanny, asleep in another room. A noise from the living room wakes her up, and she grabs her phone to record. Part 3. The doll comes alive. Narrator voice rising as the mystery intensifies. At this point, you may think it's all just a bad dream, but the footage doesn't lie. What happens next is beyond anything the nanny could have imagined. The video shows the nanny cautiously approaching the living room, her phone camera pointed toward the corner where the doll had been sitting. The doll is no longer in its original position. Nanny in the video voice trembling. Oh my God, the doll moved. It's not in the same place anymore. The camera zooms in on the doll, now facing directly toward the camera, its eyes seemingly staring right through the lens. Narrator voice hushed, full of tension. It looks like the doll has somehow moved, or was it always like this? The nanny is paralyzed with fear, unsure of whether to move closer or run. The doll's head moves slightly again, this time its mouth seeming to curl into a smile. The nanny backs away, but she can't tear her eyes off it. Narrator whispering. And then, something that will haunt the nanny forever. The doll slowly lifts its head, as if it's alive. It stares directly at the nanny, almost as if it knows it's being watched. The video cuts off as the nanny screams in panic and runs away. Part 4. Unsolved and unexplained. Narrator serious, reflective. So what do you think? Was this just a twisted trick of the mind? A poorly timed coincidence? Or is there something genuinely sinister going on? The scene fades to black as eerie music plays in the background. Narrator calmly, engaging the audience. You've seen the evidence. You've heard the stories. But what do you believe? Could it all be a hoax? Or did these people experience something that simply cannot be explained? The screen fades to black, and the words, "What do you think?" appear, encouraging viewers to comment. Part 5. A final plea for help. Narrator voice somber, serious. And now we come to the final story. A man named Andy, who is reaching out to the world for help. His story is chilling, and it's one that might leave you questioning everything you thought you knew. The video shows Andy, looking distressed, holding his phone, speaking directly to the camera. Andy in the video voice shaking. Guys, I don't know what to do anymore. This is my family home and I grew up here. Now let's rewind for a moment and think about the bigger picture. This isn't just one strange occurrence. This is part of something far more mysterious. In fact, the janitor's video was just the beginning. There are others, too. People who've lived in this school, worked here, and experienced things they still can't explain. This next video comes from a nanny who was looking after a little girl. One day, the girl tells her something that sends a chill down the nanny's spine. She says that her doll moves on its own. At first, the nanny laughs it off as an imagination of a 5-year-old. But the girl insists that it happens, especially when they play hide and seek together. Now, could this be just a child's imagination? Or is something truly wrong with that doll? Let's watch and find out. Did the doll just move? Or is this another trick of the light? The nanny shakes it off, telling herself that it's probably nothing. But as the night goes on, things take a turn for the worse. Later that night, something even more unsettling happens. The family dog, which had been quietly lying on the floor, suddenly starts staring at the doll in the corner. It doesn't move, doesn't bark. It just stares, unblinking, for hours. And now we come to the final story. A man named Andy, who is reaching out to the world for help. His story is chilling, and it's one that might leave you questioning everything you thought you knew. So, the strange occurrences in these stories don't seem to be stopping. Each video, each story, leaves behind one big unanswered question. What exactly is going on here? Can we explain these events? Are they signs of something supernatural? Or are they simply coincidences that have confused the people involved? I'm sure many of you, as you hear these stories, are asking yourselves, could I experience something like this? Or what exactly is happening in this school? And I bet many of you are wondering, could these paranormal phenomena actually be real? Or is there another explanation? Let's try to analyze what we know so far. In fact, many studies have shown that places like old schools, especially ones built on old cemeteries or sites with a troubled past, can sometimes be locations where supernatural energy lingers. Phenomena like shadowy figures, objects moving on their own, could be signs of an unseen presence. But there are also scientific explanations, things like magnetic fields, temperature fluctuations, or even psychological factors that can influence what we perceive. These are the kinds of feelings that lead people to believe in the supernatural. And maybe that's the reason behind all of this. What do you think? Have you ever encountered something like this? Could it be a sign of spirits? Or just an overactive imagination? And just when we thought the story was over, another video surfaces. This time it's from a man named John. He's an ordinary guy, living in a remote village. Until now, he'd never believed in anything supernatural. But after last night, John recorded something that to this day, he still can't explain. Just as John records, he experiences the strange sensation that something is there with him. Objects suddenly fall, and odd noises come from the dark corners of the room. What's even scarier is that John feels a shadowy figure lingering in the room. But when he turns the lights on, nothing is there. Could this be real? Or just a trick of the mind? Maybe an overactive imagination in an isolated home. John recorded everything, but now he can't stay in his house anymore. Last night, he had to sleep in his car just to feel safe. But the footage he captured could very well be a mystery we'll never solve. So, what do you think? Do you believe these videos truly capture supernatural events? Or can they be explained rationally? Could there really be spirits or ghostly presences in these old buildings? The answer is still up in the air. One thing's for sure, though, no one wants to face these kinds of experiences. But still, our curiosity and these unanswered stories always make us want to seek the truth. So, what do you think about these mysteries? Is there a logical explanation for them? Or is there something deeper going on? Could these occurrences be a reminder of things we can't explain? Or is it just a coincidence we can't pin down?